The mark on her neck sent the CEO into a jealous rage. "Who did this?" he growled. "Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us return to the main character. She does not notice him at first. She is standing near the floor-to-ceiling windows, the late afternoon light spilling across the polished marble floor of the penthouse office. Outside, the city stretches for miles, steel and glass and movement, but she is still, too still. Her shoulders are tense, her posture guarded, as if she is bracing for something that has not happened yet. She reaches up to adjust the collar of her blouse, just for a second. And that is when he sees it, a faint mark, purple fading into yellow. Not fresh, but not old enough to be forgotten. Right there, along the delicate curve of her neck, half hidden, half exposed, as if she had tried to cover it and failed. The air changes. He does not raise his voice. He does not move right away, but something inside him snaps, sharp and sudden, like a wire pulled too tight. "Where did that come from?" he asks. His tone is calm, too calm. She freezes. Her hand drops from her collar as if she has been caught doing something wrong. She turns slightly, enough to put her hair back in place, enough to hide what she can. Her eyes flick away from his, just for a moment, and that single movement tells him everything she is not saying. "It is nothing," she says. "Nothing." He takes a step closer. She can feel him now, the presence of him, tall and immovable, filling the space between them. He has built companies from nothing. He has stared down boardrooms full of men twice his age. He knows when someone is lying to survive. "That is not nothing," he says. His gaze does not leave her neck. The mark feels louder under his eyes, as if it is burning through her skin. Her pulse jumps. She swallows. "I told you, it is fine." But her voice is not fine. It is thin, controlled, practiced. He notices the way she holds her breath when he gets too close. The way her shoulders pull inward. Protective. The way her fingers curl against her palm, nails pressing into skin, grounding herself. This is not clumsiness. This is not an accident. His jaw tightens. "Who did this?" he asks. The question is no longer gentle. She exhales, slow and shaky, and finally looks at him. There is something raw in her eyes now. Not fear of him, but fear of what happens if she answers honestly. "Please," she says quietly, "do not make this into something it is not." That is when he loses control. Not loudly, not dramatically, but completely. He reaches out before he thinks, stopping himself just short of touching her. His hand hovers in the air, unsure, restrained by the sudden realization that even concern can feel like danger to someone who has learned to flinch. His voice drops, rough around the edges. "Someone put their hands on you," he says, "and you want me to pretend I did not see it?" Silence stretches between them. The city outside keeps moving. Cars crawl along the streets below. Somewhere, a siren wails and fades. Inside the office, time feels suspended, caught on the edge of something breaking open. She shakes her head. "You do not understand." "I understand enough," he replies. He has seen injuries in hospital wings funded by his foundations. He has read reports. He has signed checks. But this is different. This is not a statistic or a case file. This is standing in front of him, breathing, trying to disappear inside her own body. His jealousy is not about possession. It is about violation, about the fact that someone crossed a line they should never have crossed, and he was not there to stop it. "Look at me," he says. She hesitates, then slowly lifts her eyes. "There is nothing you could say that would make me walk away," he tells her. "But there is a lot you could say that would help me protect you." Hope said. Her lips part, then close again. Old instincts fight new safety. Years of silence press against the possibility of being seen. The mark on her neck is still there. And now, so is his attention. Unyielding. Focused. Dangerous to anyone who caused it. She does not know it yet. But this moment, this single question spoken through clenched restraint, is the beginning of something she has never had before. Someone who refuses to look away. Someone who does not call pain nothing. Well, so pla. Someone who will not rest until the truth comes out, and healing begins. Claire Holloway learns early how to live quietly, not because she is shy, but because quiet keeps questions away. Quiet keeps people from looking too closely. Quiet lets bruises fade on their own. She learned that years before she ever stepped into Julian Ashford's world of glass offices and private elevators. That afternoon, after he turns away to take a call, she retreats to the small restroom near the executive corridor. She locks the door and grips the edge of the sink until her knuckles turn pale. Her reflection stares back at her under the soft white lights. She lifts her chin slowly, reluctantly, and there it is again. The mark. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just real. It looks worse when she is tired, when the skin around it thins and the color deepens. She buttons her blouse all the way up, higher than she normally would, and smooths the fabric as if it can erase what is underneath. It cannot. Her phone buzzes in her pocket, a reminder she set for herself. Pick up groceries, pay the electric bill, call the clinic. She exhales. Life does not stop for pain. Bills do not pause. Healing is something people with time and money talk about. People like Julian Ashford. She does not resent him for it. Not exactly, but she is aware of the difference between them every time she steps into his office. The silence there is expensive. The air feels controlled, intentional. Nothing is broken unless it is meant to be rebuilt stronger. Her world is not like that. Her world is small and practical. She works long hours. She rents a modest apartment across town, just under 800 square feet, with windows that face a brick wall. She takes the bus when she can, rideshares when she must, and counts every dollar before spending it. She cannot afford to fall apart. That is why she says nothing. Later that evening, she sits alone at her kitchen table, a single lamp casting a warm circle of light. She presses a cold spoon gently against her neck, the metal biting just enough to distract her. She keeps the pressure steady, controlled. She has learned how much is too much. Her hand does not shake. She remembers the first time someone noticed a bruise and asked questions she was not ready to answer. How quickly concern turned into judgment. How easily people decided what they thought she should have done differently. So when Julian looked at her today, really looked, it frightened her more than anger ever could. He did not look confused. He looked certain. She closes her eyes, hearing his voice again in her head. Low, controlled, unwilling to accept silence. Who did this? No one has asked her that question in a long time, not without telling her what the answer should be. She touches her neck, lighter this time. Her pulse flutters beneath her fingertips. The clinic appointment is in 3 days. She has already rescheduled it once. She tells herself she will go this time. She always tells herself that. The next morning, she arrives at the office early, hoping to avoid him. The building is quiet, the kind of quiet that hums instead of echoes. She moves through her tasks efficiently, head down, focused. It does not work. Julian finds her anyway. He does not mention the mark. Not directly. Instead, he notices other things. The way she winces when she lifts a box. The way she flinches when someone raises their voice down the hall. The way she positions herself near exits, always aware of where she could go if she needed to leave quickly. These are not habits you pick up by accident. He does not push. Not yet. But his presence changes. He checks in under the guise of work. He asks questions that sound professional but are not. Did you eat today? Are you feeling well? Do you need to go home early? She answers carefully, politely, keeping her tone neutral. She has learned that kindness can feel like a debt if you let it. At lunch, she sits alone in a quiet corner of the cafeteria, picking at her food. She senses him before she sees him. The space across from her fills. You are avoiding me, Julian says. She looks up. I am working, she replies. He studies her face, then nods. So am I. There is no accusation in his voice, only patience. That unsettles her more than anger ever could. She realizes then that this is not going to disappear on its own. The mark will fade, bruises always do, but the attention will not. And for the first time in a long while, Claire Holloway wonders what would happen if she stopped carrying this alone. The first time Julian Ashford intervenes, he does not call it concern. He calls it logistics. Claire is standing in the supply room, reaching for a box on the top shelf, when the sharp pull of pain shoots through her shoulder and up her neck. It is brief, controlled, but enough to make her inhale too fast. She steadies herself against the metal shelf, waiting for the sensation to pass. Julian says it. Not the pain itself, but the aftermath. The way she stills. The way her breathing changes. The way she recalculates her body before moving again. "Stop," he says. She turns, startled. "I am fine." "You are not," he replies, already stepping closer. "And you do not have to prove anything to me." She straightens, instinctively defensive. "I did not ask for help." "I know," he says. "That is why I am offering it." He takes the box from the shelf himself, setting it aside as if it no longer matters. Then he gestures toward the chair near the wall. "Sit down." It is not a command. It is an option. But it is firm enough that she hesitates. "I cannot," she says. "I still have work to finish." Julian meets her eyes. "You can finish it later." There is something in his tone that makes resistance feel exhausting. Not force, certainty. She sits. He crouches slightly in front of her, keeping his distance, careful not to crowd her space. He notices how she tracks his movements, how her body remains tense, even in stillness. "Does it hurt when you turn your head?" he asks. She nods once. "When did it start?" She hesitates, then answers quietly. "A few days ago." He exhales slowly, controlled. "You should have said something." She looks away. "It would not have changed anything." He stands. "It changes this." Within minutes, he is on the phone. He speaks calmly, efficiently, arranging an appointment without mentioning details aloud. He does not use her name until he asks permission. "Claire," he says, hanging up. "There is a private clinic 15 minutes from here. No waiting room. No questions you do not want to answer. I will drive you, or I will call a car. Your choice." Her heart pounds. This is the moment she usually avoids. The moment where care turns into exposure. "I do not want anyone touching me," she says. Julian nods. "Then no one will." She studies his face, searching for hidden conditions. She finds none. The ride is quiet. The car smells faintly of leather and clean air. She watches the city pass by, familiar streets blurring together. Her hands rest in her lap, fingers interlaced, grounding herself. At the clinic, everything is white and calm, and intentionally understated. No crowded waiting room, no television murmuring in the background, just soft light and clean lines. The nurse speaks gently, explaining each step before taking it. She asks for consent every time. Claire answers when she can, nodding when words feel too heavy. Julian stays outside the room. He does not pace. He does not interrupt. But when Claire emerges, pale and quiet, he is there immediately. "They want to do imaging," she says softly. "Nothing invasive, just to check." "Do you want me to stay?" he asks. She considers it, then nods. He stands near the door while the technician works, keeping his eyes on the wall, giving her space without leaving. When she flinches, just slightly, he speaks without looking at her. "You are doing well," he says. "Breathe." She does. Later, the doctor explains the results in simple terms. Strain, bruising, signs of repeated stress. Nothing life-threatening, but not nothing. Julian listens carefully. He asks questions Claire does not know how to ask. He takes notes she did not think to take. When they leave, she feels lighter. Not healed, but seen. In the car, she rests her head against the window. The ache in her neck is still there, but it is no longer unnamed. "Thank you," she says. Julian does not answer right away. Then, "You do not owe me anything." She believes him. For the first time, the pain feels like something that can be treated, not hidden, not endured. And that changes everything. The days after the clinic visit settle into a new rhythm. Not dramatic, not sudden, just different enough that Claire Holloway notices. Julian Ashford does not hover. He does not ask her to explain herself. Instead, he adjusts the environment around her in ways that feel almost invisible. Meetings are shorter. Heavy tasks quietly disappear from her list. When he walks beside her, he keeps pace instead of leading. It is subtle, and that is what makes it unsettling. Claire has learned to measure safety by extremes. Silence or control, neglect or force. She does not know what to do with this careful middle ground. One evening, long after most of the office has emptied, she remains at her desk finishing reports. The building hums softly, a low mechanical sound that fills the space where people used to be. Her neck aches, dull and persistent, but manageable. A mug appears beside her laptop. She looks up. Julian stands there, not too close, holding another mug in his own hand. "Chamomile," he says. "Caffeine does not help inflammation." She blinks, surprised. "You remembered." He shrugs slightly. "You mentioned it once." She wraps her hands around the mug, absorbing the warmth. It feels grounding. They work in silence for a while. The kind that does not demand anything. The kind that lets her breathe without checking herself. "You do not have to stay," she says eventually. "I know," he replies. "I want to." The words land gently, but they carry weight. She glances at him, then back to her screen. "You should not rearrange your life around mine." Julian sets his mug down. "I am not rearranging it. I am paying attention." No one has ever said that to her before. The ache in her chest surprises her more than the pain in her neck. Later, as they walk toward the elevators together, she moves more slowly than usual. He notices immediately and adjusts without comment. When the elevator doors close, the space feels smaller, more intimate, not because of proximity, but because there is nowhere else to look. "Do you want to talk about it?" he asks quietly. She knows what he means. She considers deflecting. Humor. Practicalities. Anything that keeps the focus away from her body and what it has learned to endure. Instead, she says, "I do not know how." Julian nods. "Then do not." "Not yet." They ride the rest of the way down in silence. Outside, the evening air is cool, carrying the faint scent of rain. She hesitates on the steps, unsure which direction to go. "My car is here," he says. "I can take you home." She shakes her head. "I need the bus. It clears my head." He does not argue. Instead, he walks with her to the stop. They stand side by side under the streetlight. The city moves around them, indifferent and loud, but the space between them feels contained. Safe. She speaks before she can stop herself. "I am not used to being noticed like this," she says. Julian looks at her. "Noticed how?" "As if I matter," she answers. The honesty in her voice surprises them both. He does not respond right away. When he does, his voice is lower, steadier. "You do." The bus arrives, brakes hissing. She steps forward, then pauses. "I am trying," she says. "I just need time." "You have it," he replies. "All of it." She boards the bus and finds a seat by the window. As it pulls away, she watches him grow smaller, still standing there, hands in his pockets, not rushing back to the comfort of his car. At home, she follows the care routine the clinic recommended. Gentle heat, slow stretches, intentional rest. She moves carefully, listening to her body instead of fighting it. For the first time, healing feels like something she is allowed to do. As she lies in bed, staring at the ceiling, she realizes something that unsettles her even more than pain ever did. She is no longer alone in this, and part of her is starting to believe that might be okay. The truth does not arrive all at once. It comes in fragments. Claire Holloway first notices it in the quiet moments, when her body relaxes enough to remember what her mind has been trying to control. A tightening in her chest, when her phone buzzes unexpectedly. The way her stomach knots, when she hears a familiar voice in a crowded place. The reflexive apology that slips out of her mouth even when she has done nothing wrong. These reactions feel disconnected, random, until they do not. One evening, as she follows the stretching routine from the clinic, her sleeve rides up just enough to expose the inside of her wrist. There is a faint discoloration there, almost invisible unless you know where to look. Older than the mark on her neck, older than she wants to admit. She freezes. The memory surfaces without permission, hands closing too tightly, a voice insisting it was concern. Words framed as care that always ended in control. She presses her fingers into her palm, grounding herself, counting breaths the way she has learned to do. This is why the clinic note said repeated stress. Not an accident. Not once. A pattern. The next morning, Julian Ashford receives a call from the clinic. Routine follow-up. A clarification request. He listens without interrupting, his expression unreadable, When he ends the call, he does not go to Claire right away. He reviews files instead. Security logs, access records, timestamps. Not because he suspects her, but because he trusts patterns more than assumptions. And patterns, once seen, are difficult to unsee. Later that afternoon, Claire is sorting documents when Julian appears at her desk. "Can you walk with me?" he asks. She nods. They take the long corridor toward the private conference rooms. The windows there overlook the river, sunlight rippling across the surface. It should feel calming. It does not. Inside the room, Julian does not sit behind the table. He chooses a chair beside it instead, leaving space between them. The gesture is intentional. "I spoke with the clinic," he says gently. Her shoulders tense. "Did something change?" "No," he replies. "But they asked questions that made me think you might be carrying more than you are saying." Silence stretches. She keeps her gaze fixed on the window. "I did not lie." "I know," he says. "But you did not tell the whole truth either." "Well," her breath catches. "I am not asking you to explain," Julian continues. "I am asking if you are safe now." The question lands heavier than any accusation. She swallows. "Yes." "Are you sure?" This time, she hesitates. "I am not in danger today," she says carefully. He nods. "And before?" Her hands twist together in her lap. The room feels too quiet, too exposed. Part of her wants to stand up and leave. Another part is tired of running from questions that follow her anyway. "It was someone I trusted," she says finally. "Someone who said they were helping me." Julian does not react outwardly. But something inside him hardens, slow and deliberate. "Are they still in your life?" he asks. "No," she answers. "Not directly, but they still think they are," she admits. The words tremble as they leave her mouth. Julian leans forward slightly. "Claire, what happened to you was not your fault." She lets out a bitter laugh. "Everyone says that." "Well, distant. I am not everyone," he says. She looks at him then, really looks, and sees anger there. Not wild or reckless. Focused. Protective. "Did they put their hands on you?" he asks quietly. She nods. The answer settles between them like something solid. Julian exhales slowly, controlling his breathing. "Thank you for telling me." "I did not tell you everything," she says. "You told me enough," he replies. "The rest can come later." She shakes her head. "I do not want this to become a problem." "It already is," Julian says calmly. "Just not yours alone anymore." Her chest tightens. "I do not need saving." "I know," he says. "I am not here to save you. I am here to stand with you." The difference matters. She does not cry. She does not break down. Instead, something steadies inside her. The truth, once spoken, feels lighter than the silence that held it. Outside, the river keeps moving. Inside the room, something shifts. The story Claire has been carrying alone no longer belongs only to her, and Julian Ashford is already deciding how far he is willing to go to make sure it ends differently. Julian Ashford does not act in anger. Anger is loud, impulsive, wasteful. What he feels now is colder than that. After their conversation, he gives Claire space, exactly as he promised. He does not follow her home. He does not send messages asking how she is feeling. He understands that safety also means control over one's own time. But behind the quiet, he moves. That evening, long after the office lights dim, Julian sits alone in his study. The city glows beyond the windows, distant and irrelevant. His attention is fixed on the documents spread across his desk: clinic notes, timelines, security access reports, names that repeat more often than coincidence allows. He is not looking for revenge. He is looking for clarity. The next morning, Claire notices the shift before anyone says a word. Two unfamiliar security personnel stand near the executive floor. Subtle, professional, not threatening, just present. Her badge access updates without explanation, granting her entry through doors she had never needed before. She finds Julian in his office, standing by the window, phone pressed to his ear. He ends the call when he sees her. "Is something wrong?" she asks. "No," he replies. "Something is changing." "I have no." Her pulse quickens. "Because of me?" He turns to face her fully. Because of what was done to you. She crosses her arms. Protective. I told you I did not want this to escalate. And I told you I would stand with you, he says calmly. Standing still is not the same as escalating. She studies him, searching for signs of overreach. She finds none, only resolve. What are you doing? She asks quietly. Julian takes a breath. I am making sure no one who has access to you can misuse it again. That includes people you might feel obligated to tolerate. Her stomach tightens. You cannot control everyone. I do not need to, he replies. Only the spaces I am responsible for. She sits slowly, absorbing that. I am not taking your choices away, he continues. If at any point you want me to stop, you say the word. I will listen. The sincerity in his voice disarms her more than authority ever could. Later that day, she receives a message from a number she recognizes immediately. A name she has not saved, but never forgot. The words are polite, familiar, wrong. She does not answer. Instead, she forwards the message to Julian, hands shaking only slightly. He responds within seconds. You did the right thing. That night, he calls her. I need you to hear this clearly, he says. You are not overreacting. You are not imagining patterns. And you are not alone anymore. She swallows. I am scared of what happens next. I know, he replies. So am I. The admission surprises her. But fear does not get to decide, he continues. We do. There is no promise of easy resolution. No dramatic vow. Just a steady presence on the other end of the line. When the call ends, Claire sits in the dark of her apartment, listening to the quiet hum of the city. For the first time, the silence does not feel like abandonment. Across town, Julian Ashford closes his laptop and looks out at the lights below. Whoever crossed the line with Claire Holloway did not just hurt her. They challenged something he does not forgive easily, and he is done waiting. The confrontation does not happen in a raised voice. It happens in a room designed for silence. Julian Ashford chooses the private conference suite on the 42nd floor. Glass walls. Neutral colors. No distractions. The kind of place where people expect negotiations, not consequences. Claire Holloway is not there. That is intentional. She sits at home, phone in her hand, heart steady but alert, exactly where Julian said she should be. Safe. In control. He promised her that if anything crossed a line, she would know immediately. He keeps his promises. The man across the table from Julian arrives confident. Too confident. He dresses well, speaks carefully, and smiles as if familiarity will soften the air between them. It has been a long time, the man says. I did not expect a meeting like this. Julian does not offer a greeting. He slides a folder across the table instead. Inside are timelines, security access logs, clinic documentation, messages that were never meant to be read together. The smile fades. You were given access to her under professional trust, Julian says calmly. You used it to exert control. The man stiffens. That is not what happened. Julian nods slightly. That response is noted. He does not argue. He does not accuse further. He lets the evidence speak. Each page lands with quiet weight. Dates line up. Patterns repeat. Consent is notably absent. You will not contact Claire Holloway again, Julian continues. In any capacity. If you do, these records move from private review to formal action. The man shifts in his seat. You cannot do this without her statement. Julian meets his eyes. I can begin without it. And if she chooses to speak later, that will be her decision, not yours. There it is. The loss of control. The man stands abruptly. This is unnecessary. You are overstepping. Julian remains seated. You overstepped first. Security appears at the door. Calm, professional, final. The meeting ends without drama. Across the city, Claire's phone vibrates. It is a single message from Julian. It is done. Her breath leaves her slowly. She had not realized how much she was holding. Minutes later, another message follows. You are safe. She closes her eyes. Later that evening, Julian comes to her apartment for the first time. He waits until she opens the door herself. He does not step inside until she nods. They sit across from each other at her small kitchen table. The space is modest, personal, real. You did not have to do all of that, she says quietly. I did, he replies, because what happened to you mattered. She studies him, searching for signs of regret. There are none. Nothing will happen unless you want it to, he adds. This ends here if you say so. She considers the weight of that choice, the power of it. I do not want to disappear anymore, she says. Julian nods. Then you will not. She reaches up, fingers brushing her neck, where the mark has nearly faded. Not gone, but healing. For the first time, the memory does not feel sharper than the present. The story did not end with silence. It ended with someone standing up and saying enough. And for Claire Holloway, that changes everything. Healing does not arrive with relief. It arrives with unfamiliar quiet. In the days that follow, Claire Holloway waits for something to go wrong. A message, a knock at the door, the return of tension she has lived with for so long that her body expects it the way it expects pain. It does not come. Her phone stays silent. Her commute feels lighter. She sleeps through the night for the first time in months, waking up disoriented by the absence of fear. The mark on her neck fades to a pale shadow, barely visible unless she looks for it. At the clinic, the doctor nods with cautious approval. Reduced inflammation, improved range of motion, progress that cannot be rushed but cannot be denied. You are responding well, the doctor says. Claire almost laughs at the simplicity of it. Responding well, as if healing were something she had simply forgotten to do. Back at the office, Julian Ashford keeps his distance without withdrawing. He checks in once a day, never more, never less. He asks questions that respect her agency. How is your neck today? Do you want to work from home tomorrow? Tell me if this pace feels wrong. She answers honestly. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Each time, he accepts her response without commentary. That matters more than grand gestures ever could. One afternoon, she pauses in front of the mirror in the restroom and notices something new. Her shoulders are lower. Her breath is deeper. She does not scan the room before turning her back. Her body is learning. Later that evening, Julian invites her to walk with him along the river near his building. The air is cool, the water dark and steady beside them. They keep a comfortable distance, their steps naturally aligned. You seem different, he says. I feel different, she replies. That scares me, he nods. It should. Change always does. She stops walking and turns to face him. I am not broken, Julian. I know, he says without hesitation. The certainty in his voice steadies her. I needed help, she continues, but I did not need to be fixed. I never saw you as something to fix, he replies. Only something worth protecting until you could protect yourself again. She studies his face, searching for ownership. She finds none. What happens now? She asks. That depends on what you want, he says, not on what I can offer. The answer surprises her with its simplicity. Over the next weeks, she makes choices she once avoided. She updates her resume. She renegotiates boundaries at work. She schedules therapy sessions without canceling them. She wears her hair up for the first time since the mark appeared. Each choice is small. Together, they are everything. One evening, she cooks dinner for herself and realizes she is humming. The sound startles her. She has not done that in years. She texts Julian without overthinking it. I am doing better. His response comes moments later. I know. She smiles. Healing, she realizes, is not about forgetting what happened. It is about building a life where it no longer gets to decide what happens next. And for the first time, Claire Holloway believes that life is already underway. The first morning Claire Holloway wakes without pain. She does not recognize it right away. There is no sharp reminder when she turns her head, no hesitation when she stretches her arms above her shoulders. Her body moves easily, as if it has been waiting for permission to trust itself again. She sits up slowly, just to be sure. Nothing hurts. She exhales, a quiet sound that feels like relief and disbelief woven together. Outside her window, the city is already awake. Traffic hums. A neighbor's radio plays softly through an open window. Life continues, indifferent and ordinary. And for the first time in a long while, that feels comforting. Later that day, she meets Julian Ashford at the riverwalk they have come to favor. The water reflects the afternoon light, steady and unbothered by what has passed. He notices the way she moves immediately. You are smiling, he says. She nods. I woke up without flinching. He does not celebrate. He does not comment beyond that. He simply walks beside her, letting the moment belong to her. They stop near the railing. A breeze lifts her hair, exposing her neck completely. The skin there is clear now. No shadow. No mark. She touches it absent-mindedly, then realizes she does not need to hide anymore. It is gone, she says softly. Julian looks, then looks away again, respecting the privacy of her victory. Good. They stand in silence, the comfortable kind that has grown between them over time. Not the silence of avoidance, but of understanding. I made a decision, Claire says. He turns to her. I am listening. I accepted a new role, she continues. Still here, but with boundaries I did not know how to ask for before. Julian nods. You should be proud of that. I am, she says. Then, more quietly, and I wanted you to know before anyone else. Something shifts in his expression. Not possession, trust. I never meant to become such a large part of your life, she adds. It just happened. It happened because you let it, he replies. That matters. She studies his face, the steadiness she has come to rely on. What do you want, Julian? The question hangs between them, honest and unguarded. I want to keep choosing you, he says, but only if you are choosing me too. No pressure, no urgency, just clarity. Claire thinks of the woman she was when this began, the way she hid, the way she endured, the way she believed survival was enough. Then she thinks of who she is now. I am choosing you, she says, not because I need you, but because I want to build something honest with you. Julian exhales, the tension he has carried loosening at last. He reaches for her hand, slow and deliberate, giving her time to pull away if she wishes. She does not. His touch is warm, steady, present. That evening, they return to her apartment together. They cook dinner side by side, bumping elbows, laughing quietly when something burns. The scene is simple, unremarkable, and perfect. As night settles, Claire catches her reflection in the mirror. Her shoulders are relaxed. Her eyes are clear. Her body feels like her own again. She understands then that healing did not come from being rescued. It came from being believed, being protected long enough to stand on her own. Julian watches her from the doorway, not as a savior, not as an owner, but as a partner. The story that began with a mark on her neck ends with something far more lasting: safety, truth, and a future chosen freely. Together.